we collected all of these appliances, plus 4 canisters of recovered refrigerants, and on the sites we received donations of $256. But the really big deal was, it was like 500,000 pounds of CO2 equivalent in those appliances. And if these things had gone to the landfill and the pipes had been busted, that would have gone to the atmosphere. And so we basically prevented 500,000 pounds of CO2 from getting out into the atmosphere. And now, as far as the appliance handling, so I'm going to start to run through. This is what we did from start to finish. When somebody came up, the first thing we would do is go and look for the labels, and we would decide, okay, well, what kind of refrigerant is in it and how much? So you see over here on this one on the left, it's R22, and we had almost half a pound. And here we have R410A, and it's 210 grams or 7.41 ounces. And then we would put this data into a spreadsheet that we'd put together. What kind of appliance was it? In this particular case was R410A, and you notice it's got a brown background there, and it had 18 ounces of refrigerant. Then, picking up on the brown, everything that had R410A in it, we put a strip of brown duct tape on, and we also put a pre-printed label so we could keep track of what we had inventoried and whatnot. Then we had a couple of our pickup truck brigade teams load the appliances onto their horse trailer or onto their pickup truck or whatever, and they were all hauled down to town hall. Okay, now we're on to the refrigerant recovery phase. And you can see these have yellow on them and these have blues on them. So we did our best to sort of segregate them by refrigerant type. And the person who showed up to process them from IRRI, he definitely put them in groups so that he could do them, one refrigerant at a time. And basically we went through and busted them all open. That was kind of fun. It could be sort of a, some of them you really had to beat on because they were like big plastic shells or something you had to get through. It could have been kind of therapeutic, but there was a generator running in the background that a little bit offset that. So I'm not sure I'd recommend that for a spa activity, but it was kind of fun. So we busted these open and then pulled enough copper pipe out like that so it'd be accessible. And then, so the man came with this this vice grips with a special thing here. It's like really sharp over here, and he's put a flange. I'm sorry, it's sharp there where his thumb is, but he's putting a flange over it. So then later, this vice grip is connected to this refrigerant pump line, right? So this is pumping through here, and he goes and pierces through the pipe, and it, then opens this valve, and the refrigerant starts getting sucked up the line. And the line runs into this truck, and that tank there is a filter dryer tank. It filters out like oils, it filters out moisture, so that just refrigerant goes beyond that. And then this is a refrigerant capture tank, so the refrigerant would get captured in there. And he pretty much tried to keep it separate, R15, R22 all in one tank, R410A in another. Some of them got mixed, but they were able to separate those out later. And I'm going to mention that I can't tell you how many hours I've discussed this with our photography staff, but they didn't get a picture of the pumps, the refrigerant pumps. So basically they had like 5 of these in the back of the van that were running. 2 of them were running at once, actually. So this pulled everything through and dumped it into the tank. Then afterwards, as they were done, they got marked with a nice pink spray paint, and they got these orange labels with certificates on them saying, this has been processed and all the CFCs have been captured, not even the HFCs, but anyway, that's what the EPA wants on them. And if that's what's expected. So later the technician took the tanks back to Massachusetts, and 2 days later we received this lab report, showed the different kinds and quantities of refrigerants. And then their sister company, Refrigerant Solutions, they'll reclaim the refrigerants. That means they'll clean them up and purify them to a standard that allows them to be used again. Meanwhile, back in Warwick, so this is what the field of, drained appliances looked like when they were done. And we had Sims Metal drop off this big dumpster. and we loaded them up, piled them high. Couple characters, this guy on the left particularly, what a clown this guy is. I don't know if everyone recognizes Kevin Ryan. He's Okie Dokie Clown is his other name. And he teamed up with Bill and me, and my nephew helped us in the earlier part of the day. And so we put all the 130 appliances into that thing. We do want to say thank you. We went to one person's house. Her husband was like a disabled Korean war vet. And she said, oh, we just can't lift this. Can you come to our house? So she did. They gave us this nice thank you card and a very generous donation inside the card. So anyway, I captured that there. The first big thanks goes to the pickup truck brigade. Everybody listed here. Some of the people aren't in the pictures. And to our dumpster stuffers, Alex Gong and Kevin Ryan. It was really nice. We weren't busy the whole time, so it was really also a nice chance to meet neighbors we hadn't met before. Of course, we couldn't have done this without the help of Town Supervisor Michael Sweeten and the Warwick DPW and their Commissioner Ben Astrione, the Mayor of Florida, Dan Harder, and the trustees. They all had to approve us using their facility there in Florida, and the Greenwood Lake Public Library, their director Jill Cronin and librarian Mary Sheeran were very accommodating and letting us do an event at their library. And we also have to thank the Chamber of Commerce, Karen Wintrow and Stephanie Keegan from there. And there are a couple of Girl Scout ambassadors, Elizabeth for boys and Libby Schlichting. And then Alpine Air, Jamie Bogart was a big help. Guy Bogart and Warwick Sanitation advised us on some things. And Pat McMillan, excuse me, there should not be an A in the McMillan. The first one should not be there. My apologies to everyone for that. But anyway, we are grateful to Pat, and I will fix that as soon as we get done with the show. Oh yes, and the Sustainable Warwick support staff, our support staff, we just can't say enough about them.
Nice.
Really, yeah, special thanks there. So, we're about 8% of Orange County residents live in Warwick. All of Orange County last year recycled about 1,000 appliances. By collecting 130 appliances, we far surpassed the 80 appliances that would have been estimated to have come from just Warwick last year. Also, the refrigerants, they're really intense greenhouse gases. They would have make the same effect as like 220 metric tons of CO2 over a 20-year time frame. And, that's kind of a number. You can see me now, right?
Yes.
I just want to say, I went through and somebody had sent me something. I did this calculation, over the last 10 years, with the help of many of you from Sustainable Warwick, we have gradually made our home, which was built in 1953, a net zero home. We did the insulation, we did the heat pumps, we did the solar panels, all these things. Over these years, I'm going to say we invested like $50,000 or $60,000. So we don't have propane anymore. Our net annual greenhouse gas savings, thanks to doing this, is 5.5 metric tons. Now, our money's getting paid back over time, but we spent all that money and annually we're saving 5.5 metric tons. And in the Coolest Recycling Drive of 2023, we spent $887 and saved more than 220 metric tons. Is that a bargain or what?
Yeah. Right.
Okay. So I really appreciate the support from everyone in Sustainable Warwick for doing this. When I brought it up, could we have the money to do it? Everyone said, yes, let's do it. And I think it's turned out really well. And the other thing I want to say is one of my plans was when this was done, we should say, this is a proof of concept. There should be an extended producer responsibility scheme for this. And to my surprise, before we were finished, there was already one being proposed by Senator Brian Kavanaugh. It's S6105. It's not likely to make it through the session. It doesn't have a sponsor in the assembly, and there's so many things on the agenda, and this session is going to end soon. But there's this EPR for both refrigerants and refrigerant-bearing appliances. And I really feel that our experience with the Coolest Recycling Drive is it's a proof of concept. It shows that it's important and something that really should be done. So thank you to everyone for helping with that.
Congratulations, Michael.
Yes.
That was really something.
Yeah. let me just say this. I think this is an enormous success for Sustainable Warwick and for you personally, Michael, but let's put it in the larger concept, a larger perspective. It is one of the great things that Sustainable Warwick has done. It is a proven success. It can be replicated. There's nothing that makes this unique to Warwick. And I think we can do it. We, Warwick, Sustainable Warwick, can do it. Is this something that gets done every year?
I'm planning to, I learned so many lessons doing it this year. I'm definitely hoping to repeat it next year. And we've had an invitation from the Monroe Library to do a
Okay,
drop-off event there, so we can expand and improve. Yes.
just positive.
Yeah.
In terms of what it is and what it could be, or what it will be. So I just, good for you, good for Sustainable Warwick, and good for all of us.